Steven, you know what's been a topic of conversation in these KMBR podcasts I've been doing?
What's that?
How I broil my steaks.
Yeah.
And most people are against me. Of course, Adam
Mhm.
Copeland would be. He always is.
Yeah.
Walter, thought he was a good friend of mine. Walter Ica Balsetta, saying it right now.
There you go.
The one guy on my side, who would you think it would be, Steven?
Pasty Michael Connell.
No, but he's got strong feelings about restaurants. Good Lord. I'll get to that later.
Does he?
Yeah, he went on for a whole take about how he fucking hates the Bear because he can't stand the culture of culinary people.
Wow.
Yeah, he says he's not a fan of the Bear because he doesn't like douchebag hipster restaurant guys.
That's fair, I think. I think
right.
that's fair. Although I don't know if I'd call them like douchebag hipster restaurant guys, though.
Well, he went hard. He goes, yeah, like, those guys, I think they all know about everything about with, culinary stuff, food guys like Anthony Bourdain, rest in peace.
He's so weird. A weird guy.
No, the guy that was with me, Steven, was Tom Tolbert.
Oh.
He has never broiled a steak himself, but he claims a Hall of Fame quarterback does. Steve Young broils his steaks.
So what? They're football players. They know football. They don't know food.
I'm just saying I'm not alone here. And don't say he's weird because he's a Mormon and he broils steaks.
I wasn't going to say that.
Well, I just did.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, but there's nothing wrong with broiling a steak. It may be the time frame that I do it. 20 minutes may be a long time.
20 minutes is an incredibly long time.
Well, it's on the low broil, Steve. That's not what you're taking into account. I do it on the low broil, on the down low.
And the thing I need to see, though, I need to see what your steak looks like after. So I'm going to need you. So here's what we're going to do. You're going to cook a steak at some point this week. Do you have steak? Are you going to cook steak?
I plan on cooking steak maybe next weekend.
Okay. Well, next time you cook a steak, cut it and show what the inside looks like. That's the key. Okay, you can cook a steak through broiling, but what does it look like? Is it juicy? Is it dry? Is it medium rare, like a steak should be? There's a lot to unpack from your steak broiling technique.
I think I'm going to do next time is I'm going to put it on the high broil and put it in for 5 minutes on each side. That's what I saw on the old YouTubes.
A high broil.
A high broil.
5 minutes each side.
10 minutes total.
Okay.
All right. Okay. And I'll get back to you. If I burn down my whole apartment, you're to blame.
All right. That's fair.
All right. Just your opinion, man. Stephen Langford, Derek Papa. I'm exhausted, my friend. I've been doing these KMBR off-air podcasts this week to counteract the Giants broadcasts. For free, by the way. For free. And, God, I pretty much regurgitate everything I say on this thing and bring it up there. I've talked about steaks. Talked about rappers that I know their actual legal names. Got stumped, though, on DMX. I thought it was Russell Jones. It's actually Russell. No, not Russell Simmons. Wait. Yeah, Russell Simmons.
I actually left the conversation in the middle of that. I said, all right, I've heard this all before.
Yeah, I know.
I'm going to name every Wu-Tang Clan member. And, by the time you started talking about the whole why hasn't Lil Romeo or Lil Wayne changed their name to Wayne, getting into that whole conversation that's like 10 years past its actual due date. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I got you. It's just because it's crazy how much has happened. What was that? Sorry, you delayed a little bit. What was that?
That was so mean of me. I'm sorry.
No, by all means, because I ran out of steam today because so much has happened since the last time we did a podcast, you and I.
Yeah.
Like the world that Ray Ratto was talking about was such a beautiful world where people actually talk about important things and news and things that are actually happening instead of just aggregators and people just tweeting out nonsense. That's what's happened the last 3 days. And I expect it because we are on the cusp of real breaking news.
Yeah.
And it's crazy that's gotten to this point. So we will talk about Brandon Aiyuk. I'm kind of over it at this point, but hell, we'll talk about it.
Well, it sucks that we're to be honest, it sucks that we're doing a podcast when like the trade was supposed to go down. Like had we I mean for all we know this thing could happen overnight and this podcast will be dated by the time that the trade happens.
But you should still listen.
You should. You absolutely should, but I'm just saying it's messed up in this podcast world where you try to do something twice.
I know.
You know, there's just one piece of news that everyone is hanging on until it actually happens. It's really frustrating.
I know. But while everyone's waiting on this Brandon Aiyuk news, we're on the cusp of some bigger news that I've been waiting for all offseason, Stephen.
What's that?
Justin Simmons is dining with the Saints tonight.
Yeah.
So hopefully we get that news. I actually would take that over Aiyuk right now.
That'd be a boring outcome, wouldn't it?
The Saints? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it, though. There's a connection there. I guess the defensive backs coach knows him from the Denver days. And him and Tyrann Mathieu wouldn't be a bad safety combo. It would have been sexier to go to the Eagles or some other team like that, but he's trying to get some money, so I get it.
Before we get to all that, though, Derek, I need to give a shout out and RIP. I know there's someone that said RIP Anthony Bourdain, not like a Michael Connell thing, but do you know the name Jack Carlson?
Yes. You texted me before we were going to come on. You told me that a internet legend has died. And I was like, please don't tell me the Chocolate Rain guy died. Nope, it's this guy. I'm well aware. Let's play the clip. It's always hilarious.
Oh.
Assured me that I could speak.
Sit down inside the car. We're not assuring anything. We're under arrest.
Look, I'm under what? Gentlemen, this is Democracy Manifest. Have a look at the headlock here. See that chap over there? Get your hand off my penis! This is the bloke who got me on the penis before. Get some cups. Why did you do this to me? Get some cups. For what reason? What is the charge? Eating a meal? A succulent Chinese meal? Oh, that's a nice headlock, sir. Oh, yes. I see that you know your judo well. Good one. And you, sir, are you waiting to receive my limp penis? Now, get your hands off me. Ta-ta and farewell.
Oh.
Eating a Chinese meal, a succulent Chinese meal.
I hope Jack eats many succulent Chinese meals in heaven because that's where he is going, my friend. And he's just doing judo while eating succulent Chinese food.
And his limp penis is just doing fine.
And your limp penis. This is a Democracy Manifest.
How long ago was that clip?
I think it was from the 90s, like 91.
Was it really?
Yeah.
Man, that guy's got a great voice. Get your hands off my penis.
Get your hands off my lip. Dude, I'm telling you, like, yeah, not to make this about me, but it legit.
Well, you usually do.
I do. It legit sounds like my granddad. Like my granddad, he rest in peace. He's passed away. He's been passed away for a while now. Yeah. He had the gray hair, the mustache, and the kind of the arrogance if something like that would happen to him. And I didn't know that guy was Australian until today. I actually thought he was English, but then I should have realized in the clip due to the police officers' accents that they were Australian. If you listen to those and what they're saying.
Yeah, but he has a very thick English accent, though.
It feels like it, but you could also hear the Australian, a little Australian twang if you watch the full thing. Like it's a whole ass video that lasts like 3 minutes long. He is Australian. He is Australian.
Okay. By the way, is you watch The Boys, right?
I haven't watched the final season yet.
Butcher, is he supposed to be English or Australian?
In real life?
Well, in real life, he's Australian, but on the show, is he supposed to be British?
We do. I always had it. I've always struggled with it. I think he's trying to be Australian, but he could be doing a British accent too.
That's what I always think when he's like, hello, hello. Yeah. All right, so we got the Ghibli Jews and we got the Ghibli Glues and ring, ring, riggly brew.
What?
He's just saying nonsense. He's like, all right, here's what we're going to do. You're going to do this, and I'm going to do this. And I was like, what the fuck are you saying?
Oh, he uses, so he is British in the show. He uses a Cockney accent.
Yeah.
So it is.
That's
British.
what I thought. But he
Yeah.
always like cocks his head to the left. Is like, all right. So
Yeah.
here's the fucking plan.
Yeah. Yeah. You're gonna fucking what, mate?
Well, it seems that we got 2 screws loose in a game of Hitchcock. Excuse me?
What the fuck did you do with my bloody son?
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I think it is Cockney. Yes, Otis Purdick. Cockney.
Cockney.
Yeah. What is Cockney? It's hard to explain, but it's this weird language that English people made up for themselves. They like rhyme words so as to mean a certain, like, have you ever seen Austin Powers Goldmember? You've seen
Oh, of course. Sat on a
Remember that?
turtle.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Remember, she was a Bobby in a lorry and like
Yeah.
like a cop in a truck.
Oh, the one that was all bangers and hammers.
Yes. Oh, the one that was all sixes and sevens.
Sixes and sevens.
Sixes and sevens. I think I forgot what that stands for, but it all like rhymes. It's called Cockney rhyming slang.
Yeah.
It's very weird. I have a dictionary somewhere that my parents got me for Christmas one time as a stocking stuffer. I don't know where it's at, but they have like all the rhyming slangs. I highly recommend looking up Cockney rhyming slang. It's very odd, and they actually do talk like that in England. Bizarre stuff.
For the longest time, I thought Cockney meant like a well-endowed man that gets it down to his knees.
A Cockney.
Yes,
that would make sense because it's like an onomatopoeia. It sounds exactly what it sounds like. It's a Cockney.
Absolutely. Yeah. Brandon Aiyuk. So, Stephen, when we were doing the podcast on Sunday, we had a great chat with Rado about the way that sports journalism is today and how we report on nonsense. And then actually a real report came out. Matt Mayoko. He was down in Canton covering Patrick Willis going into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And he cited Mary Kay Cabot's article about how the Browns could be interested in Brandon Aiyuk. And then he was saying that now, more than ever, is the time that the Niners could be trading Brandon Aiyuk. And the Browns could be very much interested. And the way that this works is they get a player in return to replace Brandon Aiyuk at the wide receiver position. And gotta be talking a lot today. Wide receiver position. And that would be our good old friend, Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper wanted a new contract himself. He had his contract reworked. And he gets $20 million this season, but he's going to be a free agent after this season. So the Niners are like, okay, well, if we happen to lose Brandon Aiyuk, we'll get Amari Cooper. Now, I know a lot of people are like, he's not that good at run blocking, and he's not as tough. I think Amari Cooper is much more of a reliable receiver than that of Brandon Aiyuk. And I think Brandon Aiyuk is very good, but I think the longevity of Amari Cooper, not the longevity, I should say, just the experience of Amari Cooper, I would trust him more to get open and be a pure wide receiver more than Brandon Aiyuk. But Brandon Aiyuk is much younger.
I don't necessarily agree with that. Look, to be honest, when Amari Cooper got drafted by the Raiders, I don't think I'd seen a better route runner.
Mm-hmm.
Like I remember the word coming out of Alabama was that he was super polished as a route runner. And I don't think he's as quick as he used to be, but I think it's kind of disrespecting Brandon Aiyuk as a route runner. He's a damn good route runner, man.
Definitely.
He can get open with the best of, but can he get open when it's not just one-on-one man coverage, when, you got 3 or 4 defenders who are focusing on everyone else on the offense, on the 49ers offense? Like, Aiyuk can beat anyone one-on-one. I'm convinced of that. And I think a Cooper will be able to do the same thing, but I'm not going to just sit here and tell you that Aiyuk is a worse route runner than Cooper. I think they're kind of the same, at least where they're at in terms of their age. If you were talking to me about Amari Cooper as like a 26-year-old, then maybe my answer would be a little bit different. But I think they're kind of on the same path there as far as route running goes.
Well, what do you think about the Niners Super Bowl chances if they made that trade where Aiyuk goes to the Browns and Amari comes to the Niners?
The Super Bowl chances this year?
Yes.
Oh, I still think they're really good.
Yeah.
I still think it's really good. Like the conversation around the Niners is so much about whether they'll win the Super Bowl this year and whether their Super Bowl window is closing. Like, to me, if you want to set that expectation, that's fine. But the fact to me is they're going to be the best team in the NFC, maybe for the next couple of years. I think they are this year, even without Brandon Aiyuk. I still think they're right up there. Like, I think we forgot that with Aiyuk, they were dominating teams, blowing them out. Without Aiyuk, that's where it could get a little interesting. You're putting a little more pressure on Brock Purdy to get it done later in the fourth quarter. Like, these guys got a break in the fourth quarter a lot of these games. You remember that? They were averaging I don't think we give enough respect to how much they were scoring early in the season. Big part of that was because they had Brandon Aiyuk. If they don't have him on the team, I still like their Super Bowl chances. I just don't think they're going to be blowing teams out of the water like they were all season last year.
Yeah, I mean, I originally said it would be an upgrade. I don't necessarily. I think it'd be comparable. I think they'd be just fine.
Yeah.
I think that I'll say this. I know Brandon Aiyuk has the potential to be better than Amari Cooper, and he's younger than Amari Cooper. I think Brandon Aiyuk could be a better player, but I think that Amari Cooper gets open a little bit more in the Super Bowl than Brandon Aiyuk did.
Yeah, maybe.
So, but I think that if you trade Amari Cooper for Brandon Aiyuk, that changes things. Maybe you keep Debo. Maybe you keep George Kittle. Those things change, and I think that still keeps your Super Bowl hopes alive. The other offer on the table, I guess, was from the Patriots. So that day, after Mayoko puts out that report, he comes on with us and says that he is anticipating some resolution by the end of the week, but he's not confident. And same thing during that day. We get a report from Cam Marino, not Ken Marino. You know who Ken Marino is, Steven?
That's a Browns guy, right?
Nope. Ken Marino is a hilarious guy who used to be on The State.
Oh, yeah. I know Ken Marino.
Yeah, he was on. He was Louis, and he was the guy like, I want to dip my balls in it.
Right. Party down.
Party down. Role models. He was the guy that was like, he was the father of McLovin or the stepdad, whatever it was. Anyway, he's hilarious. Cam Marino is this guy on Twitter. I've seen him when news is kind of circulated. It's nothing really concrete reporting, but he says that Brandon Aiyuk is being traded to the Steelers. And the funny thing is, Matt Mayoko sourced him, I should say quoted him in his article about the potential of Aiyuk being traded to the Browns or the Patriots. And before Matt Mayoko came on with us, I asked him, I was like, hey, just between you and me, Matt. Well, now to the whole podcast audience, but okay. What do you know about this Cam Marino guy? And he was like, I don't really know much about him, to be honest, but he was dead right about the Browns and Patriots. So there you go. And then later that night, Matt Mayoko has the full report that the Niners have agreed to the framework of trades between the Browns and the Patriots. And we went through what the Browns offer was. Basically, I don't know what the draft pick compensation would have been, even if there was, but Amari Cooper was going to be part of that trade package. The other one was the Patriots, and on top of them paying him an absorbent amount of money, making him one of the highest paid wide receivers in football, they were going to offer Kendrick Bourne. And look, I know that Kyle Shanahan likes Kendrick Bourne, but that's not enough for me. I'm sorry. Like, Kendrick Bourne is a good receiver. He's not a great receiver, and he's coming off a torn ACL. If they would have made that deal, that would have been a bad move by the Niners. Unless
they were handing him a first-round pick along with it, then yeah, like I would have maybe understood it. But the Kendrick Bourne thing, like, that showed me that the Niners are almost just trying to get rid of him if they're willing to take Kendrick Bourne. Like, you're supposed to have an impact player in this type of trade. But honestly, who knows what you're supposed to get, because these trades are so rare. This does not happen in August, where a superstar like this, who has really done everything that was asked of him leading into his contract extension, is set to get traded. This does not happen very often. And I don't think a lot of us know what the appropriate compensation was, because this doesn't happen very often.
It does not happen. Yeah, this is very weird. Can
I just say, though, my whole thought on this, like, I still think that Brandon Aiyuk is just kind of crazy for not wanting to stick with the Niners and all that. But with all that's been done from Mike Silver and his reporting, Like the fact that 26 million was the number that he heard,
Mhm.
and they haven't tried to negotiate a deal since May. That's just malpractice on the 49ers part. Like, how do you not try to renegotiate a deal and come to some sort of agreement instead of just saying, yeah, we get 26 million. We're going to stick it. We're going to stick with that price. We are not going up because we can't pay our other guys. I just don't get how you, I don't get how you can't just negotiate some terms and maybe up the price by a couple of $1 million per year. I don't understand what the 49ers tactic with this one is, because Aiyuk's a very good player, and whatever you're going to get in return is not as good as he's been.
I hear all that. Let me get to that in a little bit here. So, just as far as the latest news, that night when Matt Mayoko had that report, or as Peter Schrager calls him, Matt Mayokoko, oh, Jesus. The report was that the Steelers were out and the Commanders were out. Now, I thought the Commanders would try to make an attempt at this because obviously Jaden Daniels and Aiyuk's desire to play with him, but that's not surprising because they don't want to give away draft capital when they're, a team that's rebuilding basically. So the Browns made sense. I never thought he was going to go to the Patriots. That just seems like a bad move on his part. It doesn't matter how much you're getting paid. That's really not appealing at all. To go to the cold of New England, to be on a shitty team, probably on paper they're the worst team in football, and you're waiting for Drake May to be good. And who knows if he's actually going to be good. So that doesn't make sense. And sure enough, last night, Schefter tweeted out that the Patriots are pulling out. They're not going to pursue Brandon Aiyuk anymore, which is hilarious because that's their way of being like, we're going to get out of this relationship before we get hurt. Because Brandon Aiyuk just basically said, Brandon Aiyuk just said, I'm not going to that team, which is the right move. But then talks picked up with the Pittsburgh Steelers. And that's a team he's always wanted to go to. I don't know why he prefers the Steelers over the Browns. If it were me, the Browns were the playoff team a year ago, and so were the Steelers, but they have, I guess, more stability at quarterback because, I mean, to say what you will about Deshaun Watson, you really trust Russell Wilson and Justin Fields at this point? Do you even know if this quarterback's going to be there for Pittsburgh next year?
They're all, I mean, besides Justin Fields, because you haven't really seen what he can become, like Watson and Wilson are just shells of themselves at this point. I think it's pick your poison there.
Yeah, but I think the Browns are the team that's expected to do better, in my opinion. They have the defense. They have the reigning defensive player of the year in Myles Garrett. They have the coach in Stefanski, an offensive-minded coach that would try to get the ball to Aiyuk. You got Nick Chubb coming back. I would have preferred to go to the Browns if it's all, same. Like Pittsburgh weather to Cleveland weather's kind of the same. But I guess he wants to go to Pittsburgh. So
if
those
you're giving
talks
me a choice, I'd do that. But I also think and don't get me wrong, Kevin Stefanski is a great coach, but I think there is something to wanting to play for Mike Tomlin. I think a lot of guys would want to play for him. So I think that is a big reason for that, or a big part of the decision making for Aiyuk. It's not just the quarterback and who he's going to play with. I mean, if the Patriots are on the table, then he really wouldn't care because you don't know what you have at quarterback yet with that team. So I think the coaching played a bigger role in that more than anything else, because Mike Tomlin's a player's coach through and through.
Yeah, and he flirted with Mike Tomlin during the offseason this year, saying we look alike.
That was the weirdest part. That was the weirdest part. Among all the stuff that he did, like the TikTok, with the Commanders, having his girlfriend go public with the whole, we're not coming back here.
Yeah.
Him going up to the gates and telling the gates to open, motherfucker, or whatever
it was. Motherfucking gates.
Open the motherfucking gates. I can make my name for myself here. And then I that's all in my head. But the weirdest thing to me was tweeting at Mike Tomlin when Mike Tomlin don't have a Twitter. Hey, Mike, I heard we look alike. It's like Mike Tomlin's not seeing it. It's one of those posts. It's like when people post like happy birthday posts to like their grandparents or something. It's nice, but your grandparents aren't on Instagram, nor are they on Twitter. Are they really going to see that? Send them like a message directly through your phone.
Yeah.
Don't put it on social media. Well, you can put it on social media. It's adorable, but I mean, there's no use in that because who's receiving the message, not the person
Yeah.
it's directed at.
No, I agree with that. And so Mike Tomlin was asked about it today, the pursuit of, I guess, Brandon Aiyuk with the Steelers. He wasn't asked directly, but there was two things. So he went on a radio show in Pittsburgh, and they were asked, "Are you making making phone calls this early in the morning?" And he goes, "Ah, it's kind of early on the West Coast, don't you think?" It's like, okay, well, there's a clue. And then he does his press conference with the Pittsburgh media, and they're like, "You trying to pursue any more wide receivers?" And he goes, "Well, I'll let you guys speculate on that one." And Mike Tomlin doesn't just say things to say them.
That wasn't my favorite part of his press conference because I watched the Tomlin press conference.
Okay.
I already had the answer, but I'm like, I just want to keep watching this guy talk.
Yeah.
And my favorite, this is easily my favorite. He gives like a 2-minute soliloquy on his team, how hard they've worked, what they've been doing through camp, preparing for week 1 of preseason, whatever. And then someone asks, "Are you concerned that Russell Wilson's not getting any reps with the first team?" And then he literally just looks at him and goes, "I'm not." Then he just moves on. That's it. So it's already interesting there with him and Russell Wilson. You concerned about any of the first team? I'm not.
Well, he's
All right.
he's hurt. So
Yeah.
what are you gonna do? And by the way, I think he hurt his calf muscle just doing like conditioning drills, which is not good. Not good for old Mr. Unlimited.
Hey, he might be a little limited.
Yeah. By the way, Mike Tomlin's best quote of all time is when they asked him if he's interested in the USC job, and he said, "Never say never, but never."
He's big on splash plays. Shout
Yep.
out to Dan Lebitard and Stu Gatz for that one. They had this amazing segment. I don't know if they still do it. It was on Mondays after the football Sunday, and they used to I forgot what they called it, but it was just like a reel of coaches in these press conferences using all the cliches in the world, but saying nothing through these cliches. And Tomlin, week after week, "We're just looking to do some splash plays, make a splash." He's just always talking about splash plays. So if you ever watch Mike Tomlin, you'll find splash is always used in his pressers.
He's got the greatest catchphrases in his, or just like memorable quotes when he speaks. Just like we want volunteers, not hostages. It's like when everybody like holds out, he's like, "I'm not even wasting my time with this shit. Kenny Pickett, get the fuck out of here."
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So everyone's pretty much waiting for Brandon Aiyuk to get traded to the Steelers. And help me out with this guy's name, Steven. Radio host in Pittsburgh. He says it's already a done deal. It's a verbal commitment. Andrew Filipponi. He says there's a verbal commitment already between the Steelers and 49ers. And yeah, it sounds like he does not want to go to Cleveland for whatever reason. We don't know the details, but it sounds like he prefers the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm not familiar with this guy. I know he goes on 95.7 in the game a lot, but I listened to this guy's video in the car wash while he was giving an update on Brandon Aiyuk, and I wish I didn't. It's just pure speculation. There really is nothing there. I'm sorry, but like I don't think he has much sources. He just said, "So Brandon Aiyuk's just going to go back to the Niners at this point? Come on, this is a done deal." I'm like, no. Look, I totally entertain the idea that a lot of people know what's going on behind the scenes, and I'm sure all the insiders know what's going on. They just pick the time and place to report shit, and when it's official. But Adam Schefter and Tom Pelissero and Ian Rappaport are all acting like it's not a done deal. It's not a done deal. They know what's up. They know they're talking, and they'll report it when they get the truth from Ryan Williams or Omar Khan or John Lynch, whoever tells them the scoop. But yeah, to me, the whole thing is the Steelers have really nothing to offer at this point. They have draft capital, but who are they going to give the Niners to replace Brandon Aiyuk? Nobody. You could talk about Calvin Austin. He's a good 5'8" slot receiver, but That's not what Brandon Aiyuk does, and you can pretty much get in that in Ricky Pearsall. So, to me, there is no receiver worthy to trade Brandon Aiyuk for with the Steelers. Now, of course, you could say George Pickens, and I know you tweeted that out, Steven, but I got to be honest. It makes no sense for the Steelers to give him up because then you're at square one. The whole point is to team George Pickens up with Aiyuk.
It doesn't make any sense, but this whole trade doesn't make sense. Like, none of this makes any sense. What the 49ers are doing doesn't make any sense. So why does a trade have to make sense? Like, I saw all those names being brought up. I'm like, no.
Yeah,
What's
like
left guard and Calvin. Go look at Calvin Austin's stats towards the end of the season. You'll see a lot of zeros in the targets, receptions, and yards category. Like, you're going to trade. What you're trying to make this a fair trade? No, this isn't going to be a fair trade. The 49ers are going to try to fleece whatever team they're trading with because this is a ridiculous scenario where there's standout receiver where they can't seem to make it work. The 49ers have mishandled this entire thing. I get where Brandon Aiyuk is coming.
I don't know about that.
If they haven't negotiated past May, how can you say that they've done?
I don't think that's true. I don't think that's true at all.
So you don't believe Mike Silver when he says that?
I like Mike Silver, but I know the way this is going to sound. I have heard nothing from Greg. I have heard from somebody that the Niners did offer Aiyuk $28 million a year. They did offer him what he wanted, and I'm telling you, did not hear this from Greg. Heard it from somebody else. The Niners did offer Aiyuk $28 million a year. We just don't know what goes into this stuff. It's not just the AAV. Guarantee money has something into play. I know that, we saw it on Hard Knocks last night. DJ Moore got $82 million, and that's what led the deal to go be done and everything. But to me,
well, if you're talking $28 million, but I don't know if I believe that. Sorry.
No, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I don't believe if he would have, I know it's about guaranteed money, but I firmly believe that he would have taken $28 million a year if they offered him that.
Not necessarily if he saw what everybody else was getting. If he saw what Amon-Ra St. Brown was getting. If he saw what A.J. Brown was getting and, Justin Jefferson. Apparently, Brandon Aiyuk told them he wanted certain things. The Niners came back and said, we'll meet you on these things. And then he changed his mind at the last minute. He's been kind of wishy-washy with the negotiations. But I don't know if that's true either. What I want to get to is, at this point, yes, it is crazy that we are now a month away from the season starting, and now is the time they want to trade Brandon Aiyuk. And it could be that Kyle Shanahan is just fed up with this shit. But you're not going to be in a better position without Brandon Aiyuk. You're not. So it's crazy that we're here. I hate the idea of trading somebody and you're not going to be better for this season. This is very reminiscent. It's totally different, but it just reminds me of Khalil Mack right before the season starts. You're trading him away for 2 first-round picks. Great, but you're not competing. And the Raiders were in a totally different position where the Niners are right now. So it sounds like Kyle Shanahan is exhausted, fed up. I heard that press conference yesterday. He's like, yeah, we love Brandon. Everything's on the table. But he admitted, we let him talk to other teams. Yeah. And Christian McCaffrey was interviewed by NFL Network. He referred to Aiyuk as a former teammate. Sure, that's just a Freudian slip. But, yeah, it sounds like I'm not ruling anything out. I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if Brandon Aiyuk is like, all right, you know what? I want to stay here for one more year. And I'll get a little bit more money. But I'm going to go hit free agency. I could see that happening if they just can't come to terms on a trade with the Steelers. Here's what I would do. I would ask the Steelers, give me Cameron Hayward on an expiring contract. Give me Cameron Hayward because the defensive tackle depth is not great. And a 3rd-round pick for Brandon Aiyuk. I would do that, and you still have a pretty good chance defensively. And then on the other side, I would hit up the Texans. And this is not going to replace Brandon Aiyuk, but it's just a good another wide receiver out there. I would hit up the Texans and ask D'Amico Ryans and, Bobby Slowick and say, you guys really going to have Robert Woods on this team this year? And I know Robert Woods is a shell of himself, but that's someone that can't play in the Kyle Shanahan system.
Maybe that, but I don't think Cam Hayward's going anywhere. That's the captain of their team. They are not trading that away. They're just not.
Fair enough.
They're not. Just like you say, they're not trading George Pickens. I'd be very confident that they're not trading Cam Hayward, especially if he's coming up to an expiring contract. I don't know if he's going to want to play after this year. Cam Hayward's getting up there, man. I mean, I know he's only 35, but there's only so much you can do as a defensive tackle for so long. I think that at this point in the season, at this point in training camp, Kyle Shanahan looked at his wide receiver group and he said, you know what, we're not going to be the same, but I can make it work because Shanahan's that arrogant. And it's like we talked about before. I think he views wide receivers, or he can view wide receivers the same way as he used to view running backs, which is indispensable. And they could, or interchangeable rather, and you could just plug and play anyone in this system. And I think that he found with these younger wide receivers and maybe with how in shape Deebo Samuel's looking, that he figured he can make it work. So it's like, all right, let's just let Aiyuk do what he wants. If he's going to hold in and do this whole thing. Hey, Mark Schlereth kind of turned out to be right. I mean, maybe not the players looking at him with a side eye, like we're doing all this working and you're just standing on the side and you expect to start at this point in the season. Maybe not the players are thinking that, but Shanahan probably is.
Real quick, sorry to get caught off guard here. I don't know who this is. This guy in the chat that says they're me. Derek Papa. I'm working on my early O-line rankings for next year's draft. Tune in Sunday. Yeah, that won't be happening.
Well, it's
whoever this imposter is.
Very plausible, though.
Yeah, I mean that actually was my plan originally, and they just ruined it. But I wouldn't be surprised if Adam Copeland is just incredibly bored with no Giants game tonight, and he just made a phony account and got in here.
I love that.
Really? It seems like a massive waste of time.
Well, maybe for him, but for me, not at all. Keep it coming.
You're very entertained.
Yes.
I'm just surprised we got to this point. I really am, because I thought they would make it work. It seems like Brandon Aiyuk always wanted to go back to the Niners. Even when he was pulling all these antics and went on the Pivot podcast, he always said that I want to be a 49er. So, and he held in. He didn't hold out. So
yeah, but that's not for the team. That was just to avoid a fine.
Yeah, but he's there in meetings and everything. He could have pulled a CeeDee Lamb.
Sure, but it's to avoid a fine.
No, I get that too. Yeah, I'm just surprised, and I also, I am expecting the backlash when this, I think, ultimately does happen. So, while everyone's saying nothing has happened, Mike Garafolo and Ian Rappaport both said today on Inside Training Camp, despite nothing being finalized, we do anticipate Brandon Aiyuk being on the Steelers. But my thing, too, is why does Brandon Aiyuk have all this leverage? I understand that he, at the end of the day, gets to pick and choose which contract he gets to sign. But also, it's like, do the Niners feel like they're forced to do this? I wouldn't do anything. I know we're all waiting on pins and needles for this news to break. But if I was the Niners, I wouldn't do jack shit until Labor Day, until I'm not getting the adequate compensation I need for him in return.
Nothing's changed. Nothing's changed. Like, all these articles have come out. I know Mayoko had the first one, and I'm kind of paraphrasing his article.
Mayoko.
Saying that the 49ers once had all the leverage, and now it doesn't seem that way. No, they still do. They still do. Just Brandon Aiyuk is still sticking to his word and just not even practicing. So it's really, Aiyuk still doesn't have any leverage other than he's holding back the team, holding back what they're doing in training camp. At this point in the season, this is when you're trying to install the offense, what you're going to be doing every single Sunday. I know they're not going to be starting on the preseason, but you got joint practices coming up, and Shanahan loves himself some joint practices. You don't think he wants Aiyuk for some joint practice? Of course he does. So I don't know where the leverage is coming from, other than he's made a big stink of this whole thing, and he's making the Niners look bad and brought some unnecessary drama that is really not needed at this point.
Sorry, this guy in the chat is just cracking me up here. This supposed Derek Papa. Oh, I had it. Tonight I'm going to shave my chest and lay each follicle in a line and see if I can make it from my bed to my couch. Who the fuck is this?
Jesus.
All right. Yeah, Steven, okay, but do you think the Niners have bungled this thing up?
If they truly haven't negotiated since May, yeah. But I think it's both sides.
I can't believe that.
But I think it's both sides. I truly think it's both sides at this point. Like it's not one more or the other. The fact is he's not in the field. He's not practicing. That's both of their faults. The Niners didn't give him what he wanted, whatever his demands were, and he's still not playing because they didn't reach whatever those demands were. So the demands weren't met. It's so stupid. I'm still annoyed by this. So
it is annoying.
So let's answer the first question that was in the show promo tweet. All right. We going the 49ers saying hello to Brandon Aiyuk, or is it Brandon Bayuk?
Well done by you. I do think it's Brandon Bayuk because there's too much smoke here. I do think that they're trying to negotiate with the Steelers. At this point, Brandon Aiyuk has told them, I want to go to the Steelers or nothing. And I think that it's... Sorry, I keep getting distracted by this guy. After I microwave a steak, of course. This fucking asshole.
I hope that is Copes. I really do.
I guarantee you it's Adam Copeland. It probably Scopes. He's got nothing better to do tonight. I do think eventually they're either going to find a way to trade him to Pittsburgh because that's what Brandon Aiyuk wants, and maybe it's better for the team if he moves on at this point. You hear Debo and you hear everybody giving interviews today. It sounds like they're ready to move on, or not like they want to move on, but they're kind of accepting that he's not coming back. I just find it hard to believe that with how much John Lynch and him have talked, like you see him walking from the field to his office. I got to imagine there's been some negotiation. And John Lynch and Ryan Williams are tight like that. So I know what Mike Silver's saying, but I don't know. I don't know about that one. I figured they want to keep him. It's just a matter of we don't know exactly what Brandon Aiyuk wants. Like what does he really want? Is it more than the AAV? Is it the guaranteed money? Or maybe just the Niners are just like, dude, we don't think you're Justin Jefferson. We don't think you're Amon-Ra St. Brown. And we got to pay these other guys. We really value you. We do. But it's not enough like Bosa. That's the truth.
I can't up their price by a little bit more, though, whatever it is. Like, I know they're always thinking 3 or 4 years down the line, but good God, you got this year. You got this year where the NFC runs through you and you just can't make it work because you're worried you can't pay guys in 2027. I understand that line of thinking, but good God, if you asked any 49er fan, I bet you they would trade one Super Bowl win if that meant the next 10 years you'd be back to where you were in the Chip Kelly, Jim Tomsula era.
I get that fans are going to lose their shit when this potentially happens. I get that. But I don't necessarily think that they did anything wrong here. They had a price, they stuck to it, and now they're forced into this. And I don't know why they feel they're forced into this. I mean, they can let this play out. To me, this feels like the Jets with Aaron Rodgers, where we know which team he's going to, but they got to work out the draft compensation. That may take a while. So that's what this kind of feels like. But
so are you going to go on a darkness retreat, you think? Go to Southern Oregon?
No, I don't. I think it's easy for the fans to get mad at John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan over this thing. But what would you rather do? Hold him hostage? He doesn't play at all? He causes antics, or maybe he's a good sport about it. I don't know. Maybe he told them, I'm not going to play it down for you guys this year. And they might as well get something for him before he walks in free agency for nothing. So what are the options to make this extremely uncomfortable for everybody? Like, I understand that Niner fans are going to rightfully so be upset, and everybody's going to scream on the radio that John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan fucked this thing up. But no one knows what goes behind the scenes. So believe me, I get it. It's good for sports talk radio and podcasts and all this shit. but let's not act like the Niners are totally at fault here. Brandon Aiyuk is definitely causing some shit.
It's true. It's true. I don't think anyone is blaming one side or the other. I think everyone knows that both of them have botched this at an epic proportion. If you want to blame one or the other, fine, but sports are never like that. Like, it's never fun to take, ride the fence, take both sides in a sports radio argument. But in reality, yeah, both sides is what's true. And you know what? You want to move on to something else? I got something, because apparently you are looking for a dating site. Bumble or Tinder, and then I'm looking for Commitment. Hinge and Grinder sounds promising. So while you were yelling at everybody, I've looked up obscure dating sites. If this tickles your fancy, gluten-free singles.
Oh, okay,
this is an interesting one.
I mean, I'm not allergic to gluten. Is J-Date on there?
J-Date?
Yeah, it's the Jewish dating
one,
app.
right?
Yeah.
I don't. Herpes fish. There's
Don't know if
Amish
that applies-
dating.
Don't know if that applies to me just yet.
Tall Friends connects that one out. Sorry, that was too easy.
Thank you. We don't have to entertain this anymore, Stephen. Whoever this jackass is has left the chat.
Horse lovers?
No, that's
wow.
not me.
How about this? Trek Passions.
The hell does that mean?
Connects sci-fi fans.
Yeah, you definitely know that's me.
Wow, Trek Passions. There's so much.
Is there a football fetish dating site?
Football fetish dating site, dude. That's the next big thing. I think we found it.
Yeah,
I think we found. I think
screw this podcast. We'll go big with that.
We're in Silicon Valley. We're in startup heaven. Let's get this going. Let's ramp it up. Let's ramp this up. A dating site for football fans. Genius.
Yeah. I'm gonna find out. I'm gonna find out if this was Adam Copeland who was in this chat as me tonight.
I hope it's either him or my guy Michael.
Michael, yeah, could have been Michael. Could have been Walter. No Giants games, and these guys get bored tonight. Jesus,
love that.
Yeah. So yeah, we will sit and wait while we find some Brandon Aiyuk news, because I know everyone's waiting for this to happen any day now. I don't know when this is happening. There's no reason for the Niners to rush to this at all.
No, there's not.
So we will see. You know what? I'll say this. By the time we do another podcast on Sunday, I still think we have nothing resolved. The Niners will play their game on Saturday against the Tennessee Titans, and Brandon Aiyuk will still be a member of the 49ers. But we'll see what happens with another preseason game this weekend. So, Steven, I haven't been keeping track a lot of the Raiders QB competition. I don't know who's. I guess Aiden O'Connell's in the pole position, as Mike Tomlin referred to it. What's your take on this whole thing?
So, I think Gardner Minshew is going to start the season, and I think he should start the season. And here's why. I understand he is more erratic, doesn't have as much of a ceiling. But as I'm looking at this team, and I'm not going to lie, I'm kind of, I got the inspiration from this little take from the Athletic Football Show with Robert Mays, who was hosting it, and then Derek Klassen. I think he now writes for the Athletic. He was on there too. But they were talking about their favorite DNA changers, guys who were added to a new team, and they're going to give them a different vibe, a different look, a different energy. And it made me realize they didn't talk about anyone on the Raiders specifically. Gardner Minshew wasn't mentioned, but it had me thinking, like, the Raiders, if they are going to win any games this season, I think they are very, very good defensively. And I think they're trying to build up an attitude defensively, that hard-nosed, punch you in the mouth, even though they wear face masks, that whole thing, right? They're trying to create that sort of identity. And if you want the quarterback that is going to match whatever vibe you're hoping to get from this team, I think Gardner Minshew is that quarterback. And I think if you start Aiden O'Connell, well, there's also another reason. If you're going to start Aiden O'Connell, you are starting him behind an unhealthy offensive line. Jackson Powers Johnson still on the pup list. I don't think he's practiced. Colton Miller hasn't practiced as much as you'd want. And those are the two most important names that you have on that offensive line. If you enter the season banged up at all, Aiden O'Connell is going to get killed because he is an absolute statue back there. When he gets protection, like I was watching O'Connell highlights, when he gets protection, he can make some damn nice throws. You know what I mean? Like some really good throws, like accurate, quick, with anticipation, all those different things.
Mhm.
But Gardner Minshew, he's obviously, like I mentioned, he's a little more erratic, and the interceptions really are what have kind of kept him from taking over Aiden O'Connell in that number one position. I just think if O'Connell hasn't become the clear-cut number one guy by now, and it's still a quarterback competition with a guy who is kind of a journeyman backup, then you know what? Bring Gardner Minshew in, have him start the season, and then if things go to hell, then bring in Aiden O'Connell and then just have him finish it out like it was last year. I know that's kind of a defeatist attitude, and you shouldn't want that, but I don't know. I don't trust Aiden O'Connell that much, and the Raiders kind of screwed up this whole quarterback situation anyway. So why not go with the guy who is going to bring the vibes like Gardner Minshew?
Yeah, I think that Gardner Minshew is definitely better than Aiden O'Connell and would bring a different spark to the offense.
Yeah.
I do feel they're obligated to start him. I don't feel they need to, but I feel like for whatever reason they feel obligated for the way he finished the season.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll see what happens in the preseason here. Each
Sure.
game, like this is pretty much the only legitimate QB competition in football right now. I know they're going to say like, oh, J.J. McCarthy and Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold's going to start the season. And I think Jacoby Brissett's going to start the season for the Patriots.
Bo Nix is third on the depth chart in Denver.
I'm not buying anything with that. I think Bo Nix is starting. I think they're just doing that out of respect because Jared Stidham is the veteran. Zach Wilson is the other veteran. And they're just doing that because Bo Nix is the rookie. I think Bo Nix is going to start in Denver. So this is the only one where I'm like, yeah, I can see either guy. But if it were up to me, I would choose Gardner Minshew.
Consider them a couple of 20-minute broiled / microwave steaks. Not very good, but the Gardner Minshew steak has a little more seasoning on it.
Fair enough.
A little more enticing.
I realize that you are like Colin Cowherd, where you love your analogies.
I think analogies are great.
And analogies could be good if they make sense, but like, man, your chairlifts and your steaks, like that's that. You know, I've been doing my Colin Cowherd impression on the other KMBR show because after he did that tweet where he was like, "I'm hearing some Aiyuk news," I imagined him just being on a show, being like, you know, the Niners are a 5-star restaurant. You got the maitre d's, the receivers, you got the food. And it all could go to shit if one chef does not show up on time. That's Aiyuk.
It's creative.
Sure.
Colin Cowherd's an afternoon drive on a national talk show, and he's the number one guy.
He's on a morning drive.
I think he knows what he's doing.
Not when it comes to reporting news.
I am sorry, but the broiled steaks analogy is fantastic. It's great.
Did AJ Cruz find out that was Copes?
It's very well done.
AJ Cruz, haha, that's Copes.
Hope so.
Are you talking about me in the chat earlier? The guy posing as Derek Papa, or me as the
Definitely
as Colin Cowherd?
Yeah, no, it was, or maybe it was. Ooh, actually, that's a good question. Was that referring to what you were doing?
Yeah,
or whether that was actually Copes? I'm actually looking at Copes' Twitter right now to see if he posted anything. Mm-hmm.
Well, be careful with that.
Why?
He can go off the rails sometimes on Twitter.
Never mind. He just retweeted a couple of your KMBR. Okay, so AJ thought it was you. Okay, AJ thought that was actually you doing a Copes.
Oh, no. That was me just Yeah, that was me just doing my Colin Coward impression.
Look, man, analogies are how you create some other avenue as to how to actually talk about a subject. So, take some pointers there, Derek. Try to create one yourself.
Nah, sometimes I just get to it, Steve. I don't need analogies. Hard Knocks
Oh,
premiered last night. You watch it all?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. What'd you think?
I mean, it's Hard Knocks. Although we should have played the game. What cliche is Liev Schreiber going to use?
Mm-hmm.
Because I had my head in my hands. I gave a kind of like, oh my God, where they go to Roma Dunze. Of course, the first thing, Rome wasn't built in a day. That is just low hanging fruit. Like
But
what
he didn't write that.
what would be? Well, yeah, I know he didn't, but he's the voice, so I'm gonna blame him. Like what?
Well, that's fair.
You know what's next? It's the next episode when Caleb Williams and Roma Dunze, when they talk about their connection. Maybe not next episode, but at some point, it's going to be. These two guys have never played down in the NFL, but as they say, when in Rome.
That works.
And they're going to be, and it's going to be a slow-mo spiral, deep ball to Rome.
Yep.
First, that was like the opening scene. Caleb Williams gets drafted. They show the phone call. And this young man's got a lot of talent.
But is he the next Michael Jordan? I thought the playing of the Alan Parsons Project song they played for the Bulls and the guy going, now,
that was cool.
Your starting lineup for the Chicago Bears, Caleb Williams. That was a little cheesy.
It was, but it was cool.
We're comparing Caleb Williams to Michael Jordan already?
Yeah, it's a young guy coming into Chicago. You're not comparing him, but it's hope, man. Are you not allowed to have a little hope, Derek?
No, I want no hope. I want all hope squashed.
Fair.
But I will say this, man, can Caleb Williams not sing John Legend? Whew, that was bad.
That was really bad.
And then no one really cares because he's making $25 million in his signing bonus.
Tyson Bagent cares.
Yeah, he did. Well, yeah. Well, he cares that he's making that much money, but no one cares that he can't carry a tune. Tyson Bagent is fun. I can see why he's the backup quarterback now. Because for a while I was like, really, Tyson Bagent? You can't go get Ryan Tannehill? That dude's got confidence. And you could see it in his very memorable press conference where he grinded his absolute face off. But they have maybe the most confident quarterback room in all of football between him and Caleb Williams. That I think those two are going to be very interesting together. But yeah, like the show was, I found the Giants, and they got a whole Hard Knocks training camp to get through and everything preseason. Maybe the Bears would have been more interesting if they flip-flopped it. Maybe if the Bears offseason would be more interesting with drafting Caleb Williams, going through that process, and trading for Keenan Allen. What else did they do this offseason? Getting DeAndre Swift. But then again, you wouldn't see anything of Caleb Williams, really. So I'm just saying, like, running the high of the Giants' Hard Knocks compared to this was different. But this was kind of more like the old kind of okay Hard Knocks. Like, this wasn't as good as the Jets a year ago, but the Jets had so much hype. I remember the long tracking shot where Aaron Rodgers hits the field for the first time. This was just like, okay, Caleb Williams is the savior. And Matt Eberflus is trying to look sexy because his wife told him he looks good with a beard. And, the Jonathan Owen stuff was good. Man, that guy loves his wife. It was actually really cool to see him be so supportive of her and wake up super early and watch every game and go to Paris. No one joined him in Paris. Come to think of it, it would have been a lot for HBO to send a crew member there and get permission to film during the Olympics and whatnot. So yeah, that was going to be hard to do, but it was a solid episode. It just wasn't amazing.
Yeah, it was fine.
Yeah,
it's going to be centered around Caleb, and
yep.
I like his I'm really interested to see how he does this season because we are going to overreact into oblivion. Whenever like this guy goes off after, it goes off on a teammate, which I think he's prone to do. He's a very emotional character. And I
Yeah.
just don't think, honestly, with the amount that we've seen from a guy like, I mean, just look at the reaction to Tom Brady, arguing with the refs and doing all those different things. How we looked at Travis Kelce when he bumped into Andy Reid. Football fans do not like emotional players. They like players to keep their head down and be a professional. I think Caleb Williams kind of goes against that. And I think that's just who he is in his nature. Really interested to see how he just grows within the NFL because I think there's going to be some growing pains and there's going to be a lot of things that go viral on social media that's going to rub people the wrong way. And you're going to see a lot of bust talk and all this sort of stuff. But I'm fascinated by what he's going to do with how much hype's around him. Really am.
The criticism happened even last night. Like he's in a meeting with Matt Eberflus, and then he leaves the room and he picks up his, I'm not going to say a purse, I'll say European carry-all. And people are like, oh, this guy, he's painting his nails. He's got a purse, whatever. Who gives a shit? Who gives a fuck? I don't care. I do not care.
Don't care.
As long as he plays football, who gives a shit what he does?
Still don't care.
Yep. I will say Matt Eberflus actually impressed me. Not with the getting the haircut and the beard and whatnot. He's very tied to the hip with Caleb Williams. Like a lot of like when you're a defensive coach, you kind of just let the offense be the offense. And he's going around. He's in the meeting rooms with the QBs. I was very impressed. He brought Nick Saban in to talk to the team. I think Matt Eberflus is doing everything right so far, but out of anybody, he'll get the most criticism. If this team is not in the playoff hunt, they'll fire him, unfortunately.
Yeah, for sure. But that's just the life of a coach.
Yeah, it is. Speaking of life of a coach, I want to bring this up because this kind of made the rounds today. Non-Aiyuk news. Did you read the article with Sirianni and Jalen Hurts?
No, I didn't read that. No, I saw it, but I didn't read it.
There was an article that came out today about the relationship of Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts and how I guess they weren't on the same page a year ago. How Nick Sirianni, while he wasn't the play caller, he was very much in control of the offense last year. He didn't let Brian Johnson really do his thing. He didn't develop Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts was upset that Nick Sirianni was kind of a dictator with the offense and wouldn't let him do his thing. Remember that game we were talking about where he forced the interception at the end against Seattle, and Jalen Hurts said we can't blame Nick Sirianni as much, and Sirianni gave some bullshit excuse like, oh, that was me. I wanted them to call that play. Apparently, Jalen Hurts just went rogue and threw the ball up in the air, and Sirianni was like, "What the fuck are you doing? What are you doing?" They're just on a different page. And the whole point of getting Kellen Moore was kind of to separate the two. So it sounds like they're on good terms now, but Jalen Hurts, I guess, just doesn't like the way Nick Sirianni coaches offense. And a lot of people have a problem with the way that if he doesn't agree with something, Jalen Hurts kind of just shuts down and kind of isolates you, not like a good leader in that way. But that's something interesting. And I did think about this. I read this article and I'm like, okay, well, maybe they could fix it for this year. And then I'm like, this team was 10-1 a year ago, and stuff internally fucked them up. And I kind of related to the Niners a little bit, where they have all these contract issues, still nothing with Trent Williams, the Aiyuk stuff. I don't think it's that simple as they'll just get back to the Super Bowl with this team. Like the Eagles kind of ran it back with the same squad a year ago too, and internally they had issues. So I wouldn't be the least bit surprised this year if the Niners face the same things, whether it's Aiyuk being traded and guys are kind of resentful towards John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan. Brock Purdy takes a step back because Ayuk's not there. I think there's a lot of shit going on inside the facility that could mess them up.
Maybe, but I think that's kind of comparing apples to oranges because the Eagles were also a different team defensively. I mean, I'm not disagreeing on the fact that this infighting and this dysfunction could produce some crappy results this coming season. But remember, the Eagles weren't the same team as they were that previous year that they took them to the Super Bowl. They were on offense, but defensively they were different. And I think this year on offense for the Eagles, I think Saquon's going to change everything. I think Saquon's out for blood this year. So, whatever may have happened last year, they got to put that shit in the past, because I think the Eagles, the NFC, I really think it runs through the Niners, but for second place, for the 2 seed, I think it's up for grabs for anybody. And I think the Eagles should be able to take that if Jalen Hurts is as good as we all think.
Yeah, I mean, that could be the Eagles. That, could be the Cowboys, maybe. It could be the Lions. It could be the Packers. And speaking of the Bears and Hard Knocks, we did this a year ago, Stephen, where we went around each division and kind of said what we like about the teams, what we don't like about the teams. So let's start that tonight.
Oh, shit,
do a little,
really?
Why not?
Because we haven't prepared for it.
I have.
For what?
Just a quick little thing. What'd you think of the NFC North?
I got nothing for you on the NFC North.
Ah, shit. Okay, fine. All right, next podcast we'll do the... Jesus, Stephen. I texted you this.
When?
look at the text I sent you earlier today.
Hang on.
I definitely included NFC North preview in there.
Hang on.
Oh,
Whoa.
crap, you did.
Oh, man, you did.
All right, all good. Next podcast, we'll do an NFC North and AFC North preview.
Whoops.
We'll adjust on the fly. Come on, you know the teams.
Okay. Let's just preview the NFC North then, because the NFC North, fuck them.
Fuck them? All right. Let's start with the team that was on Hard Knocks. Do you want to do this now, or do you want to wait till next podcast?
You can do this now. Doesn't matter.
All right. Okay. All right. Let's start with the team that was on Hard Knocks. What's things that you like about what the Bears did this offseason? What things you don't like about the Bears?
Just the number 1 draft pick, dude. It's Caleb. It's Caleb and Rome, and the fact that they built up that offense into something that's going to be very capable, I think, of the NFL. I mean, that's the number 1 story. But this division, this one could shape up to be the most interesting in football. I'm not going to say it's the best division in football, but the Lions and Packers are a couple of up-and-coming teams. But as far as the Bears, I'm not going to say they're going to be first place in the NFC North, but they'll at least be interesting to watch.
And what's the biggest concern you have for them?
Biggest concern is the defense. I don't know what to expect from the defense. I don't, because they've built up that the wide receiver core so much until Hard Knocks came along. I kind of forgot that they added Keenan Allen, who great locker room guy. But they kind of have like a lot of just, this might be kind of harsh, but just have a lot of cast-offs from different teams. And I think they've just kind of built it up, whether you're talking Tremaine Edwards, Montez Sweat, who's obviously really good, TJ Edwards, obviously Jalen Johnson's really pissed off about his top 100 list. But Kevin Byard, Jaquan Brisker, I mean, you got some names, but I don't know how it's going to be good collectively as a defense.
Well, I thought they were pretty good defensively a year ago, but it was did during certain spots. I think the biggest thing about this team is obviously the intrigue of Caleb Williams and upgrading the receiving core, getting DJ Moore a year ago, and then getting Keenan Allen and now Rome Odunze. And, they should be good offensively. And getting Shane Waldron from Seattle to be that guy that runs the offense. They should be good on paper. But I think we're putting a lot of stock into a rookie. And Caleb Williams is that big of a prospect. But everyone expects him to be CJ Stroud. And I think that's an unfair comparison. So I would say everyone temper your expectations, because Caleb Williams still has a lot of growing pains. They even showed it in the episode last night on Hard Knocks, where he struggled. He struggled during training camp, and that's going to happen during the season too. So let's not act like Caleb Williams is going to take this team to the Super Bowl in a year, and he's going to be CJ Stroud. I think that's an unfair comparison. Vikings, Stephen. You want me to go first or you?
Yeah, you can go first on this one.
I think the biggest thing they did this offseason was paying Justin Jefferson, locking him up, and making sure that we don't have to deal with any more trade rumors. He's attached to the Vikings. And it was cool to see him during the Netflix show and how he prepares and how much it bothered him a year ago with the hamstring injury. I think he's going to come back and ready to repeat his 2022 season where he was the best wide receiver in football. The biggest thing is not having Kirk Cousins anymore. You're having Sam Darnold or JJ McCarthy. And I think that Kevin O'Connell is a very good head coach. I think they're going to have they already got some great skill guys. Aaron Jones comes over and TJ Hawkinson at tight end. We'll see how long Jordan Addison is suspended for, because most likely he will be. From when he was drafted a year ago, I think he's had 2 instances with driving where he sped, and then he's got a DUI where he was, asleep at the wheel this offseason. I don't think he's going to play football at the start of the season. I think he's going to be suspended. But, the bigger thing is the quarterback. So is Sam Darnold going to finally take that next step and be the guy we've always expected him to be, or is JJ McCarthy going to be that guy? I think it's just going to be growing pains with the quarterback position.
Yeah. That's my number one concern, because I'm going to stand true to this. I just think the biggest problem with giving Justin Jefferson that contract is the fact that JJ McCarthy is going to be his guy. I'm not a believer in JJ McCarthy, and we've already seen what Sam Darnold can do. So that'd be my biggest concern. But I do like what they did through free agency, besides just signing Justin Jefferson. Pretty easy to forget that they got Aaron Jones now at running back. What they did on the defensive side of the ball, like, they don't have big names, but if you watched last year, Brian Flores knows how to scheme these guys up, especially with the cornerbacks and what he does with the secondary. And they've added Jonathan Bullard. They added Greenard, and then Grenard, excuse me. And who was the other guy that they added? Oh, the one I love this guy. I'm looking for Van Ginkel, Andrew Van Ginkel, and a clean pair of shorts. I like that too. So I like what they did there, but at the end of the day, it comes down to the quarterback, and it's the same issue that I see with the Raiders. You got a pretty good team. You got a solid team built around you. Jordan Addison, pretty easy to forget that he's a good wide receiver. But I don't know about the quarterback. Like, who knows about the quarterback? Nobody. So that's my biggest concern, and that's not a good concern to have.
Speaking of quarterbacks, Green Bay Packers, obviously a big reason why they made it to the second round a year ago was of Jordan Love. And he started out slow, and then he was maybe one of the best quarterbacks in football, threw the most touchdowns as far as a NFC quarterback a year ago. He's the biggest thing that I think about this offseason, how much he's matured and how he's progressed as a quarterback and earned that contract, in my opinion. Adding Josh Jacobs in the running game, adding Xavier McKinney in the secondary. They're going to be good defensively, I think. They bring over, I forget the guy's name, the head coach of Boston College, but he's going to be their defensive coordinator. So I think they're going to be a good team. I really do. The only concern I have bought into Jordan Love, but, I know it's a small sample size. So let's see if he can really light it up for a full season. That's the only worry I have so far as the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah. I don't really have like a worry about them. I think they're pretty well set. I mean, there's not much to worry about. They got largely the same team last year. They only got better with Josh Jacobs. I mean, I guess if there's any one concern, it'd be the lack of his health, and just the fact that there's been times where I've seen him during a Raiders season, even though I think the returns on him, I'm just seeing how the way that his teammates talk about him, to see the way the coach talks about him, they love him. But I've also seen too many seasons where it feels like first play of the game, Jacobs gets kind of banged up, has to limp off the field, looks like he's grimacing. So I guess if you had to put any concern on it, I love the signing, but I guess his health would be number one, because with that, you're stuck with AJ Dillon. But I guess my biggest concern though would be whether the wide receiver Christian Watson can take that next step. Behind a great quarterback, you got to have a good wide receiver core if you want to do anything in the NFC. And Christian Watson has to be that guy. Because if you look at their starting wide receivers right now, it's him, it's Romeo Doubs, and it's Jaden Reed. Obviously, they made it work last year, but you can't just make it work. You need more than that.
Yeah, but I think they have a good young receiving core, and don't forget about Dontavius Wicks.
Oh, excuse me.
Yeah. And there's a guy like Malik Heath in there, I want to say. They have a bunch of great names and young receivers. They all do their own different thing. Christian Watson, I think, got banged up at practice today too, so we'll see how long he's out for. But yeah, I think the Packers are gonna be a good team.
Yeah. And what I like, the one player I like that I don't think gets enough credit is Rashawn Gary. Rashawn Gary's
he's
a
really good.
beast. Got hurt in 2022, and last year he racked up 9 sacks. At this point of his career, I mean, you should be seeing like a career season by this dude, by a first rounder in 2019. Like you're in your prime. Like you need a big year from him too.
Yep. And then lastly, the NFC Championship losers a year ago, the Detroit Lions. Biggest thing about them is they just ran it back. They got everybody back. I don't think they lose anybody of significance that I could think of. They were a great team a year ago, and I think they're going to be even better. Jameson Williams playing a full season. I've heard rave reviews about him in training camp. They just got to improve the defense. Carlton Davis comes over from Tampa Bay. I never thought they got a good defensive end opposite Aiden Hutchinson. They went out and got Marcus Davenport, but I don't think he's that great of a pass rusher. What?
That's it. That's
one
it. That's
thing?
my concern. That's my
Yeah.
one thing is you don't have anyone lined up opposite Hutchinson. Hutch. Where's
Yeah.
Starsky?
Or even Huggy Bear. Yeah.
He's at the Olympic.
That's one of my concerns, but also my biggest concern is it's just the Lions. And do we have two? I know that they're good on paper and what they accomplished a year ago, and they got some sweet jerseys this year. I like what they did jersey-wise. They went back to the old school Honolulu Blues and the lettering of the 90s, like the Barry Sanders jerseys. But I just wonder if they're going to repeat it because the Lions as a franchise haven't done a whole lot, and I just wonder if they're going to do it again. That's my biggest concern.
I understand that. I get that.
All right. Okay. Well, there you go, Steven. That was painless.
Yeah. I got bullshit on my way through that pretty well.
Yeah, I'd say so.
All those things I actually believe. Just quick takes.
I know. You just look at the Wikipedia page of the roster real quick, and then
I did. I got ESPN open. It's a real skill of mine.
Yeah, I know. I know what you do. One more topic I want to bring up here, sports-wise, and I feel like this one's getting swept under the rug because of the Aiyuk news. We were all waiting on this news for a while, especially when Klay Thompson left. How are the Warriors going to get any better? And the biggest rumor this offseason was their pursuit of Lauri Markkanen and whether the Warriors were going to be able to trade for him. And all the different trade packages we've heard over the past few weeks. The Jazz really want Brian Pajemski, and I guess they're really not as hot on Jonathan Kuminga. The Warriors are willing to offer a bunch of draft picks, but they wanted all 3 players, I think at one point maybe, and then it came down to were they going to trade Pajemski, and the Warriors just said no. And so Lauri Markkanen signs a contract extension. Pretty big one, too. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but because of that, he is not eligible to be traded this year. Because of the rule in the NBA, when you sign a contract extension, that means that you cannot be traded for 6 months. And to the date that Lauri Markkanen signed this contract will be the NBA trade deadline. So he will not be a Warrior this season. To me, if it was just moving Pajemski for a couple of first-round picks, like the trade offer, I guess, was Moses Moody and multiple first-round picks, pick swaps, second-round picks. To me, if you substitute Moody for Pajemski, I would have made that move in a heartbeat. I'm sorry. I like Pods. He's fun, but I don't think he's some kind of superstar or all-star. I know that Steve Kerr likes him, and I'm sure he sees a lot of him in himself in Pods past the white thing, but it's just but I think that what's his ceiling, honestly? I know he's I would have made this move if they were asking for Pajemski, I would have done this in a heartbeat. I would have moved I definitely would have moved him for Lauri Markkanen.
Since when did Pajemski become untradeable?
Yeah.
Like, since when did we put him into that category? Sure, he had a good rookie season, but rookies weren't that good this year, so there wasn't much of a class to compete with. He might not have been an all-pro member if there were better rookies out there. I don't get it. I don't get the overvaluing. I understand that he's a good team player and he has a pretty good ceiling, but he doesn't strike me as a guy that's going to be a superstar. Like the Steph Curry, like you talk about a Super Bowl window, the Steph Curry window is legitimately closing. Like if you don't show that you're putting together a winning team, he'll go somewhere else. He really will. He really will. At the first and foremost, it's all about winning. And the fact that you're not trading Brandon Pajemski, I get it, but like I know he's a competitor, but like I don't know. Maybe I'm undervaluing him, but when I saw you're not willing to give up Brandon Pajemski for a star, like what are we doing?
Yeah. I don't get it. And do you think Steph would ever demand a trade? I don't.
I don't think he'd demand a trade. I just think he'd leave through free agency.
Put your microphone closer to your face, Stephen.
I don't think he'd demand a trade. I just think he'd leave through free agency.
Yeah, he might. He definitely could. But that one was puzzling to me. Like that one, I'm sure that's not the one that Draymond was like, I want to do that deal. I think it was for all three guys, Moody, Kuminga, and Pajemski. And then the Jazz backed off and said, we'll just settle for Pajemski. And the Warriors were like, no. Which I'm baffled by that one. I would have moved him. Hell, I would move Andrew Wiggins for Zach LaVine. I would. I think they made a lot of questionable moves this offseason. They got some good pieces, but they definitely could have added to make this team a lot better. And I don't think this team is better than they were a year ago. The non-Clay Warriors with Kyle Anderson and Buddy Hield and DeAnthony Melton, I don't think they're better than a play-in team.
I think it's going to be the same exact thing as last year. They're going to hover around 500. Steve Kerr is going to say consistently that he believes in this team to go on a little run, and when we go on that little run, that's what's going to boost us into a playoff spot. You don't need that again. You don't need that for another season. They could have, like, they had three options. They could do what they're doing now. They could go in for a superstar, or they could just try to blow it all up and rebuild around Steph Curry. You can't do that third one because he doesn't have time for that. The second one, I thought you had to take a chance. That's why I wanted Paul George. Obviously that didn't work out, but now you're standing pat because of Brandon Pajemski and his ceiling. Like, what is his ceiling? Like, are we talking like, is it an 8-foot ceiling? And he's pretty much Yao Ming at that point. Like he's only got 6 more inches to go until he hits that ceiling. You know what I mean? Not much. Like he's good, but to not trade for a superstar and using Pajemski, it's just all very odd to me.
Yeah, and maybe it wasn't just that simple. Maybe there was more. Maybe they had to trade Kuminga too. Who knows? You know, Michael Connell on our little KMBR off-air podcast was saying, I think you do trade all three of those guys for Lauri Markkanen. He's that good. I also know that like trading away your future for all three of those guys is a lot. Or just trading all three guys for Lauri Markkanen, that's a lot to do. But if it was just Pajemski and draft picks, what are we doing here?
Yeah. Yeah, I'd probably feel better with this team if it was just Markkanen, Kyle Anderson, and Buddy Hield. And I'd feel a lot better about this squad, but I don't know. Steve Kerr is going to have a masterclass in coaching if he wants to coach this team up to where they're going to beat those loaded teams in the Western Conference.
And I guess the other name that's thrown out there right now is now they're interested in Valanciunas. Yeah.
Wow.
Right.
You mean Travis Kelce?
Yeah, basically.
Looks like Travis Kelce.
He does look like Travis Kelce. So yeah, I'm not really high on the Warriors this season.
No, that was a head scratcher. I don't know what their plan was there.
Yeah, don't like that. That's all I got, Steven. Oh, did you want to do our John Fisher of the week?
Yeah. I actually got a new one.
Oh, you're not going to do Marlon Humphrey?
I was going to do Marlon Humphrey because he called out Simone Biles for bowing to the person who got first place in gymnastics. It's like, Marlon, I'm not telling you to stick to sports or stick to football or anything, but can't you just let people celebrate? I know this isn't football. All right, this isn't football where you got to hate each other if you want to win. Like the Olympics is all about camaraderie and you know,
Race.
obviously they're competitors, but it's like you're cheering each other on because you're all going for one common goal. This isn't a regular sporting event. So I was going to call him out for that, but he already caught a lot of flack. I'm actually going to go with someone new, and I am going to go with the schedule makers of track and field for this damn Olympics. This happens every year with the pole vaulters, and I feel terrible for them because the women's pole vault was on today, the final, the gold medal. It's from 19 athletes, 19. It starts with 19, and then it was down to 5 that have to clear the bar that's at like 4.9 meters, which is like 16 feet. Crazy. It started at 9:15, right? 9:15 in the morning. That's when the 20 competitors started. And we didn't have a gold medalist in that event until 12:40 to 12:45. It was over 3 hours because the schedule makers, they decide to stop everything with pole vaulting. Nope, we got to pay attention to this semifinal in the 200 meter. Oh, we got to pay attention to this 400 meter final. How about you let the pole vaulters go first before these guys run on the track for a couple of minutes? All right, push their schedule back to make room for the pole vaulters. Justice for pole vaulters, the schedule makers at the Olympics. You're my John Fisher of the week. We're calling it John Fisher now because he's an automatic jackass. So we're replacing that, and now now it's the John Fisher of the week. Justice for the pole vaulters out there.
I like it, Steven. By the way, did you see that guy with the long pole bang his junk on the pole vault?
Yeah, got himself an OnlyFans.
Did he really?
OnlyFans offered him $250K. Yeah,
for his long wing,
for his long pole.
Good for him.
Yeah, that pole vaulted him into
superstardom,
some financial gain.
Yeah.
Do you think he like texted anyone in like high school who rejected him? And like, see that? Look at that. That's what you missed out on.
You see my long what was the terminology our guy that passed away said in did he say flaccid penis?
Oh, limp penis?
Yeah. It's like, hey, you impressed by my limp penis on the Olympics?
Oh, sorry, Ernie. It's Cam Soda. Cam Soda.
You know, Mark Jackson turned them down too.
Did he really?
Well, we went through that many a time. I think like a year ago.
Oof. Mama.
Yeah, we made that joke plenty of times. It was when we were doing Just Your Headlines, man. We had to come up with a joke each time.
Oh yeah. Yeah. The long lasting Just Your Headlines, man.
Just Your Headlines, man. Also known as New News.
Yeah, ours was actually jokes. Theirs is just news, and they're reacting to news.
All right. Well, maybe we started up again.
It was like mine was I tried creating it into this SNL update thing, but you weren't having it.
I think, you know what? I think it's funnier if you do it because you can work on that and you could do your jokes and I'll just rate your jokes.
That's fair.
All right. We're bringing that back. Just Your Headlines, man.
All right.
I don't really have a John Fisher this week. I was trying to think of one. I was thinking about it, and we don't need to play it, but this is not really deemed John Fisher worthy because that's really set for real jackasses. But I saw Tom Pelissero and Mike Garafolo going off on the aggregators of Twitter reporting on Brandon Aiyuk being traded to the Steelers. And while I do find that stuff annoying, something inside me was like, all right, guys, just let it go. Because it kind of came across as them being like, we're the professionals. You guys are phonies. You're frauds. You'll never be us. Stop reporting on the news. Shut up. And I get it. Those guys are annoying. The aggregators that act like they're actually reporting news. But it just seemed like, guys, you're better than this. Pelissero and Garafolo. I remember they're not.
I didn't take it that way.
Okay, fair enough.
I took Pelissero going off because that's what he did. He went on the Insider Show, then went off on the aggregators, namely Pretty Ricky. I think that's kind of the number one guy.
He definitely went after him. Yeah.
But I took it as, look, man, these guys have worked their asses off to get to where they're at and become the guys. And you got these random people online who don't even have a face, who are just taking news and then making fake news out of it. And they're getting all the attention, and it's false attention. It's false information. And it's information that eventually is going to be right because there's no actual details on what they're saying. Except for, let's take this team and let's take these reports and just create some take out of it. I understood where they were coming from. Was it a bit much? Maybe, but I think they've kind of had it because the aggregators get more and more popular while they try to be more down to earth. How do you do, fellow kids? They try to be more down to earth by wearing hoodies on their show and turning it to the insiders.
Yeah, no.
Hey, we wear more casual clothing on this program. We're just like you.
Yeah, I mean, Tom Pelissero does have the TV chops, and that's what NFL Network has done now. They've turned their insiders into hosts,
Yes.
so they can cut the cost. But I get it. Like, yes, I think if I was a reporter, I would find it incredibly annoying if an NFL Network producer, and this has happened, reaches out to one of them and says, "Hey, I'm seeing on Twitter this guy, Pretty Ricky, or whoever the fuck, Cam Marino, Andrew Filippano, whatever his name is. What's his name? I don't mean to be disrespectful.
Filipponi's different because he's been a radio host for a long time in Pittsburgh. Like, I think he actually has sources.
I don't know about that.
I think he does. It's just kind of got screwed over with it.
Yeah, we'll see about that.
He's a radio guy. I mean, he's been in it for a while.
Radio guys, like they don't have sources.
They might.
Okay.
I mean, you cited a source earlier.
Well, I'll tell you who it was when we're done here.
Oh, all right.
And you can tell me if that was credible. It wasn't Greg. I'm going to say that right now. It was not Greg.
Is it Kyle Shanahan?
No, but he will be on tomorrow with Tolbert and Copes.
Is it Farhan Zaidi?
Yes, Farhan gave me the scoop.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, Kyle Shanahan will be speaking with us tomorrow. And if Aiyuk gets traded, then the first comments he'll be making ever will be on our show. And I don't want a repeat of last year when everybody got upset when he talked to us about Sam Darnold be the number 2 quarterback. So just letting everybody know right now.
Yeah.
But I get it. Like, like if one of those producers had to be like, "Hey, can you verify this report online?" And they're like, "Do I have to? Do I fucking have to?" I get that. I totally get that. I just thought they did it for way too long. That was my thing.
I think there's also, a little fear too that, what if their jobs are rendered kind of useless? I mean, AJ Cruz is answer a question for me. What's the big deal with being the first to break a story? After it spreads, it isn't news anymore. But if you're wrong, you look like a dick.
Yeah.
There's no big deal with it. I just think they're kind of scared for their jobs too.
But I don't think they're scared. I think they're just like, I mean, at the end of the day, they'll get the credit. Like, no one's going to say Pretty Ricky with the first report on the Brandon Aiyuk trade. It's going to be Tom Pelissero, Mike Garafolo had it first.
Right.
But yeah, to me, you look dumb when you're that guy on Twitter being like, I got a report, and when it doesn't come to fruition, and you're like, I'm telling you guys, I have these. Like, you seem stupid. You do seem stupid. Now there's definitely guys that have done this before. Guys that we love. John Morosi got in trouble earlier this year or last year with the Shohei Ohtani thing, where he said he was on a plane and he wasn't on the plane. Shit like that happens sometimes. You get the wrong sources. But the guys that are trying to get clout on Twitter, those are the real John Fishers of the week. So I'll give the award to those guys. However, I didn't think Pelissero and Garafolo needed to stomp on people that don't matter.
Yeah, but I think they're just fed up. I think they're just fed up with it.
No, I totally get that. But also it just seemed like two grumpy guys on TV complaining about nonsense on Twitter.
Sure.
But I will give credit to Pelissero. He had a great line about, you guys, you put your blue check marks out there because Elon sets it up for you guys. Like that, I was like, all right, he's got good material. But I thought it just went on for way too long. I was like, okay, this is 5 minutes of this shit. Come on.
It's true.
Yeah. All right. That's all I got, man. Anything else?
No, just justice for pole vaulters.
I heard you. You'll
Did you
get
see
it.
the 400 meter though?
No, I didn't.
It's pretty sweet. Go look it up.
What time is USA and Brazil play tomorrow? Oh no, Serbia. It's Serbia.
I don't know. 12 probably.
Yeah,
12,
I
15.
think it's noon. Yeah, like I said, USA's going to dominate.
Yeah.
What other big things do we have to look forward to in the Olympics?
Tomorrow, I haven't actually looked tomorrow. A lot of the weightlifting stuff was today. U.S. men's volleyball lost, which sucked. Men's water polo team.
I saw the water polo. That was exciting.
Still in it. Beach volleyball. I think that's still up there. But tomorrow is going to be about the track. I think tomorrow is the 200 meter final, and that's where like Noah Lyles is the star. So I think that's a big deal.
You ever follow Juju Smith-Schuster on Twitter?
No.
That man is horny.
Is he really?
He just tweets out like, "Damn, I'm loving this beach volleyball," and just takes pictures of the girls' butts. And I'm like, "Hey, man, I'm doing the same thing, but you don't need to tweet about it."
Yeah, that's kind of weird.
Yeah.
That's a little weird. Oh, we got women's golf. I'm looking it up right now. Women's golf. It's in the second round though. Let's see. The men's speed climbing final. You seen that shit?
Speed climbing?
Yeah, it's rock climbing.
Like rock climbing? Okay.
Dude, they look like Spider-Man out there. It's nuts.
I need to go rock climbing again.
Ooh, the men's javelin throw, the women's long jump final.
Is it javelin? Is it a javelin?
Javelin? Taekwondo, the women's 400 meter hurdle. That's a big one.
Okay.
Sydney McLaughlin-Levrone, she's like broken her last 2 world records, and
that's a mouthful. Jesus, what a name,
dude! She is unbelievable. She's like scary. She is scary. She has like this stone cold look on her face, like no one can fuck with her, and she will kill you, like on the track. She will just. It's pretty amazing to watch. So that's definitely something to tune into tomorrow.
All right. And when are the final ceremonies? This weekend?
This weekend, yeah.
All right, damn. That was quick.
Yeah, it's been 3 weeks almost.
Yeah. Well, all right. And yeah, I think are you in agreement with Steven? By the time we do this next podcast, I don't think Brandon Aiyuk is traded.
I think it could be.
I hope.
I'm gonna ride with my guy Filipponi.
All right, you do that. Ride that pony. Ride that Filipponi.
Yeah.
I will say this: by the time we're back on Sunday, Justin Simmons will sign. Thank God. All right, everybody. That's it for us tonight. Thanks to everybody in the chat. Ernie 1, Ernie 2, Otis Bird is the word, AJ Cruz, tag you for a little while. Skills. All our guys were here tonight, except for Danny Golding TV. I didn't see him. We had another guy. Well, there was a phony me. Don't know if I like that. Spaceball Scout. I think that's just another mock account made fun of me for talking about Spaceballs earlier. You know what? Now that I think about it, this probably was Tacky that was pretending to be me.
Might have been.
Yeah. I think it was actually. All right. On that note, everybody, we'll see you next time on Sunday. Steven, say what you always say.
It is just our opinion, man. Our penis.